It's been a few days since the Euros final. Calmed down a bit, calmed down a lot because I was very emotional. And I think now is a good time to reflect about what happened in the game, what happened after the game, and also what we can look forward to in terms of the future. So we're going to be looking at 5 things in particular in this video. We're going to be talking about the Italy win itself. We're going to be talking about the game itself, where things went right, where things went wrong, particularly from an England perspective, potentially some questionable tactics from Southgate, whether we should be questioning Southgate or not, whether we should still be just totally backing him. We're going to be talking about the ugliness that followed after the game, and also some uglier elements throughout the whole tournament. Just generally, we're going to be talking about what this England team did right, not just on the pitch but off it, and then we're going to be wrapping up with looking ahead to the future, again from an England perspective. What can this team achieve going forwards? So let's just start, like I say, talking about the Italy win, because I don't want this video to become England should have done this and they should have done that and they should have done that, and just totally ignoring the fact that Italy won, and they won well. So congratulations to Italy first and foremost. In my opinion, Italy deserves to win the final on the balance of play, on the balance of probabilities, and for me, the best team did win. And I just want to talk about how tricky it has been for Italy, because let's not forget, this was a team in the 2018 World Cup didn't actually qualify. They didn't actually qualify for the most recent World Cup. Mancini came in and has literally transformed them from this, basically a failure of a team. They didn't even qualify. Italy, a huge footballing nation as well, to not qualify for a World Cup is a massive thing. Mancini came in, totally changed the way the team played, gave so many debuts to so many new, fresh, young Italian players, and that style of play has really come across, and they have been, in general, a joy to watch throughout the Euros. And like I say, Mancini has changed Italy from a team who didn't even qualify for the World Cup into a team that has won the Euros. Not done well in the Euros, they've won the Euros, which is an absolutely huge achievement. And as a footballing superpower, Italy are back, and that's totally down to Mancini, basically the way he set up his side, much more attacking than Italian sides of old. But as I say, apart from certain circumstances which I might touch on, they have been brilliant to watch. Let's also talk about how tricky it is for Italy to have done what they did. Like I said, not only relative to where they came from, but also they were at Wembley in a very hostile home stadium, with it being played in England being in the final. Obviously England fans don't want Italy to win, so every time they were on the ball they got booed, every time they lost possession it got cheered, as you'd expect from basically what was a home match. Italy's penalties were also in the England end, so again, being able to win on penalties under that amount of pressure is a huge achievement. And like I said, I don't want this video to become just looking at England's failures. We should also be acknowledging Italy's successes and how well they've played throughout the whole tournament, and also the context of the win itself. Like I say, playing basically away and playing in front of the England fans when it came to the all-important penalties. And I can't even imagine the pressure, but they were able to, for the most part, cope with that pressure under penalties, and they won the whole thing. So congratulations to Italy. Now let's move on to the game itself, the tactics deployed, and we'll start before kick-off, because looking at the team sheet, I was nervous, as always. I'm always nervous, but I don't like England playing a back 3, back 5 personally. I understand it worked against Germany, but the main reason why it was deployed by Southgate in that instance was so that we could match Germany's 3 back, 5 back, and we could basically counteract them, and it did work brilliantly. So I was very concerned at the starting 11. However, I didn't question it, because I kept questioning Southgate throughout this tournament. I was like, why isn't he playing Grealish? And at the start I was like, why is Sterling playing? Sterling's actually gone on to become England's best player at the tournament. So I was thinking, no, I'm not going to question Southgate. He knows what he's doing. He's literally got us to a final, doing his tactics, setting up how he wants to set up. I will have faith. And within 2 minutes of the game, incredible start, England score, and that goal is only scored by virtue of Southgate's formation of choice for this game, or the start of this game anyway, the back three formation, because that goal came about due to three fullbacks. It was Kieran Trippier, who wouldn't have been on the pitch but for a back three formation, the right wing back, running with the ball. Kyle Walker, the right centre back, obviously no one plays right back, but Kyle Walker makes a really good run which takes away, I think it's Emerson, away from Trippier, who gives him way more time to get his bearings, align the cross, sees Luke Shaw, the other fullback, or the left wing back, running in. It bypasses the entirety of the Italy defence, just goes over the top of the stalwarts that are Chiellini and Bonucci and Luke Shaw, with a great finish into the back of the net, and it's a dream start for England. And throughout that first half, England were the better side. Italy had more shots, they had more possession. However, apart from a shot wide from Chiesa, I can't actually recall any genuine scary moments within that first half. I think maybe Stones had one block in as well, but in terms of genuine chances and in terms of a team looking more threatening, it was England throughout. We dominated their defence, midfield, attack throughout that first. But I'll say the first 30-35 minutes definitely. Towards the end of the first half, Italy did come more into it and they were able to get their confidence. But that Italy side were, in that first 30-35 minutes, they were awful, I thought. It wasn't similar at all to the Italy side of the group stages, the round 16, quarter-final. It was very similar to the Italy side that turned up against Spain for portions of that game, because Spain did have the better of Italy for quite a lot of that game. So that was really promising from an England perspective. But I was always concerned about the prospect of England getting overrun in midfield, because if you play a back three, back five, you are going to get overrun in central midfield, because you have a two in midfield and two in central midfield rather than a three in central midfield of a 4-3-3. You don't have to be a great footballing tactician, mathematician, to understand that having three in midfield is better than two in terms of numerical superiority. However, as discussed, the trade-off is that you get the numerical superiority on the wings. That's how the first goal was scored, but there was always the risk of England getting dominated in that middle area when you've got Verratti and Jorginho and Locatelli and Barrea or Braddock. I can't recall the final option in that Italy midfield. But the risk was England getting overrun, and unfortunately, start of the second half, and like I said, towards the end of the first half, that's exactly what happened. Italy put England under severe pressure throughout that second half. England looked a shadow of the side that we saw in the first 30 or so minutes, and England just couldn't get any of the ball, basically. They were offering nothing going forwards. Italy were having genuine shots at goal now, genuine possession, attacking possession with really good forward passes, and it was only a matter of time before they scored. And actually, a minute before, I think as the corner's being taken, I say it's literally only a matter of time before Italy score here. And from a set piece, again, very annoying for England to concede from a set piece. I can't recall exactly, but I think maybe you could say John Stones should have won the first ball potentially, but it's really tricky when there's two phases of play to that corner. Pickford actually makes a really good save, but it rebounds. It's a bit of good fortune for Bonucci. Comes out straight to him and they equalise. And from that point you think, England aren't going to win, or England have to take it to penalties now, because at that point in the game it was not looking like England were going to score at all. It was like they were holding on to dear life to that lead, and it was incredibly similar to the Croatia game in 2018, the semi-final. England get an early goal against an opposition where at that point in time they should be able to not dominate, but they should be able to dictate play better. They should be able to keep attacking and keep progressing and keep playing their game, keep playing football. But what happened in Croatia happened exactly in Italy. We score another goal, we back off, we allow the other team to get confidence, come into the game, and by the time they equalise, basically the game's gone. In the Croatia game, they were able to get a second goal before penalties. In the Italy game, they weren't able to, but again, even after then, Italy were overall still the better side, and England had to try to kill the game in that 20 to 30 minutes at the start when Italy were on the back foot. Italy were looking shaky, weren't looking like themselves, but we didn't. And maybe that's the pressures of the final. And like I said before, Southgate has got everything right so far, pretty much. Apart from the Scotland game, this is really basic analysis because, oh yeah, he's got everything right apart from the games he hasn't won. Sounds really simple. But in the Scotland game, which England drew, England maybe could have even lost, but for a really good Pickford save, it was too passive, too negative. The rest of it throughout, it's been great. Obviously, first half he got right as well. He got it right with the 3-back, 5-back, because England were able to score a goal from it. But as soon as Italy caught on to it early in the second half, he should have changed it. And again, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but he must have been able to see. He must have been able to see that we were getting overrun in midfield. And even before then, we should have made it so that we were more attacking, or rather less defensive, because like I say, it just gave too much of the impetus to Italy, and they were able to score the goal from it eventually. Now Southgate did, I think basically as soon as the goal went in, brought off Trippier and he brought on Saka, and we went to the 4-3-3 or the 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. And that was the correct decision, so it was a really good response. Like I say, it's a shame that it took us conceding a goal to realise that we were being overrun in midfield and we needed to switch to a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. At least it happened. And England, to be fair, did look a lot better when that formation change happened. Italy were still in the ascendancy, but there was much better play from England. We took it to extra time, and actually in extra time it was pretty even, and I'd say England just about edged the latter stages of extra time, so that was good to see. But you could say maybe too little too late, and did eventually go to penalties. And talking about the penalties, there's been lots of critique of Southgate for bringing on Sancho, for bringing on Rashford really late into the second half of extra time, and them not, being warmed up, being ready to take penalties. There's been criticism of him bringing on Grealish too late, which I do agree with. I think Grealish should have been brought on a lot earlier, because even for him just to win fouls, he wins a lot of fouls because he's the way he plays, the way he dribbles at players, you basically got to bring him down. And just a cheeky foul here and there really could have broken up the play at a time when Italy were dominating. But that happened too late, and he brought on Saka. Unfortunately, Saka didn't have a good game. He had been good previously in the tournament, and it was a shame for England that Phil Foden was injured. I'm not sure if that's being looked on as much as it should be, because with Foden, because personally I probably would have started Foden, but I wouldn't have played back three, but obviously that worked. But switching to a 4-3-3, I would have brought on Foden instead of Saka, because when Foden came on against Denmark, he was incredibly good, and clearly Saka didn't have a good game. So maybe had Foden been fit, he could have been as. And I know it's not good to do and it wouldn't do Saka's confidence any good, but Saka was really struggling. So maybe you could have taken off Saka and added extra time, brought on Foden. Maybe could have brought something different. I'm not sure. But that's the land of what ifs and hypotheticals. Foden was unfortunately injured, so he wasn't even on the bench. And then we get to penalties, and as I say, there's been criticism about Southgate's decision. I actually don't know if it was a decision made by Southgate, or if it was, on the day, or if it was a decision made prior to the game, because I would have thought they would have had a list of players who would have taken a penalty, so it would have already been decided beforehand. Or I don't know if it's just like, you volunteer on the day. But either way, Southgate's been criticised for bringing on Sancho, Rashford, and also just for giving a penalty to Saka. And obviously those three players missed their penalty, or they missed it in the case of Rashford, or it was saved in the terms of Sancho and Saka. Now, I don't buy the argument that Southgate's made an error because he's brought on two players for penalties. They didn't get enough of the ball and they actually missed, and that's why they missed. I don't think you can say that's why they missed, because Saka missed, or rather Saka's penalty was saved, and he was brought on in the game long before Sancho and Rashford. He was brought on in the second half, so you can't use that reason for Saka missing the penalty. And then Italy's number 9, it's Copperotti. Sorry if I've got that name wrong. he was brought on much earlier than Rashford Sancho, and his penalty wasn't scored. And Jorginho, who's a penalty expert, supposedly, even though I've definitely seen him miss one against City in the League Cup final, I think, he didn't score his penalty. Pickford saved his penalty, and he started the game. So I don't totally buy the argument that, well, Southgate made a mistake with Sancho and Rashford, should have brought them on earlier, because we've seen examples where other players who were on earlier missed them. And that's because, at the end of the day, yes, there is skill involved in penalties, clearly, but it is a lottery. I personally would have liked to see Grealish take a penalty. However, people saying stuff like, oh, Sterling should have stood up, Sterling should have taken a penalty. If someone doesn't want to take a penalty, then they shouldn't be forced to take a penalty, because if anything, you're putting them in an even worse situation there. You know, would Harry Maguire have been anyone's second choice to take a penalty after Harry Kane? Obviously, everyone's first choice is Harry Kane, but would everyone really have said, oh yeah, Slabhead, he's a brilliant penalty taker, he's definitely going to convert this? And it was probably one of the best penalties. It broke the camera. So had Maguire missed it, then we would have been saying, well, the reason why we lost is because we had a centre half taking it rather than a forward like Sterling or Saka or Rashford or Sancho. So that's the penalties, and Italy won. And Donnarumma was really good, by the way. Pickford did us so proud as well, nearly saving the game from Jorginho. I got incredibly emotional before Pickford actually even made that save. Or maybe, no, it was just after he made the save, because I just couldn't handle it. So I was actually getting emotional before England had even officially lost, because I just couldn't handle the pressure. So I can't even fathom to think what the players were thinking. Potential red cards. So there was a Chiellini foul on Saka where he tugs his shirt, he yanks him down to the floor. It's a disgusting challenge, I think. I don't think it's a red card. I think it is yellow, but I think it's incredibly scummy for, maybe you can say age isn't relevant, but let's talk about it in context. It's, how old's Chiellini? Is he 34, 36? Yanking down a 19-year-old? Doesn't seem on. Wasn't a red. That's just my thoughts on it. We'll get into it in the next topic. But for everyone's talk about England cheating in the Denmark game and everyone wanting Italy to win, have people forgotten about Italy's blatant gamesmanship throughout the tournament, particularly in the Belgian game? And that's just another example of it. Italy aren't this. The Italian national side aren't this. White knight on this beautiful white horse. They are also a very dirty, at times, gamesmanship team who will do what they need to do to win, evidenced by that Chiellini foul on Saka, and then the Jorginho foul on Grealish, I think it is. Now, for me, that's a red card. He goes in, it's high on Grealish's leg, it studs into him. For me, that's a red card. Am I using that as an excuse as to why England lost? No, I still think England would have lost. It's also relevant because Jorginho missed his penalty anyway. But I do think that was a red card, so that was just something I wanted to touch on and cover bases on. So again, I actually did a TikTok video on this talking about why Denmark weren't robbed in the England game. So for anyone saying England always get the best decisions, I have no idea where that narrative's come from, by the way. No, it's just not true. It's just not true, because there definitely should have been a red card in that game. Didn't change the outcome of the game, but I just wanted to touch on it. So that's the analysis of the game covered. And just going back to the uglier side of that game in terms of the fouls and potential red cards, I do just want to talk about the ugliness that we've seen throughout this tournament, and also during the game, before the game, and then after the game as well. I'll just briefly touch on it. I normally only like to talk about the football aspects of something, or something in a footballing context, rather than wider social issues. But I do feel it is quite important to talk about it, because there were some particularly ugly moments, like I say, before the game, after the game. The worst being the racism that has been targeted towards the three players who missed the penalties, Saka, Rashford, Sancho. Frustratingly and very sadly, I as soon as Rashford missed the penalty, part of the reason why I wanted him to score it, obviously for England to score a penalty, but I knew if he missed it that there would be an outrageous amount of awful, vile, racist abuse against him. and then Sancho missed it, and Rashford missed it. All black players, and you just knew that people were going to target that. So obviously that's disgusting, and the vast majority of people will condemn that. It's awful, and it's not enough to just say, oh, they're just thugs, they're just hooligans, they're not real football fans, because unfortunately they are real, true football fans. They go to the games, they watch the matches, they support the team, and it's not easy enough to just sweep that under the rug and say, well, they aren't real fans, they aren't true fans, so they don't count. We need to take some form of ownership of them. Obviously, they aren't representative of the majority of society. However, they are representative of a significant chunk of society that is too big. Yes, it's a minority. I don't know what it would be as a percentage, but it is a chunk that cannot just be ignored and cannot just be, like I say, well, they're only a tiny minority. They're not most people, and they aren't, like I said, they aren't most people. But we can't just sweep it under the rug. We do need to address it. I don't know how to address it, by the way. I don't know what the solution is to racism. I don't know if racism will ever be 100% resolved, but I'm just making the point that it's not easy enough to just say, well, that's not most of us, therefore it's okay. There was also violence before the game, like people forcing their way into Wembley, which is, obviously disgusting, especially during COVID as well. That's grim. I saw footage of English fans attacking Italian fans. Again, this isn't all English fans or all Italian fans, but the point I made before, it's still enough people for it to be an issue. I mean, if one person did it, it's an issue, but do you know what I mean? Like, there's a wider issue at play here, clearly. Fans booing the national anthem, not just English fans booing the Italian national anthem or previous instances of English fans booing anthems. I've seen it happen throughout this whole tournament where other fans will boo other nations' anthems. Some English fans booing taking the knee. A lot of Russian fans booing taking the knee. I think a lot of LGBT stuff in Hungary. Unfortunately, there are examples throughout the whole tournament, not just England fans. Again, not trying to excuse England fans for everything, but I do just want to make it clear that, because counter to this, I've also seen a lot of people just having a go at English fans and just saying, oh, it's the English fans who are the worst, when in reality, yes, this section of English fans are genuinely awful, and I don't think anyone should be booing any national anthem, but to just focus on the wrongs of one particular group of fans is dishonest and wrong in itself, and it doesn't really help address the problem. It just scapegoats one segment of fans. So we should be talking about the ugliness as a whole. There were also reports of stabbings in London, and reports of this viral video going round of supposedly an Italian fan getting chucked into the Thames by English fans. Now, this is the reverse side, where there was violence in London. Like, Leicester Square was absolutely destroyed, full of piss and beer, I think is what the official term was. Restaurants were smashed up, and like I said, there was some violence directed at Italian fans by some English fans. However, these are, as far as I'm aware, the stabbings and the throwing the guy into the Thames, these are false reports, because I couldn't find an article anywhere evidencing this. I've just seen people's TikTok saying, oh, this happened. I've seen people's tweets saying this has happened. I've seen people in my Discord server going, oh, it's awful, this has happened. And also, when we went live straight after the game on TikTok, I had loads of people commenting, what do you think about the 7-8 stabbings that have happened in London already? And I was like, an hour after the game, I was like, wait, what? That's awful. But then I looked into it afterwards, I was like, this isn't true. These reports are false. The Met Police confirmed these reports are false of the stabbings. This is not true. The footage of an Italian getting chucked into the Thames by the English, the police said, that doesn't look like the Thames, and we haven't had any reports filed. There's been no incidents filed. So again, as far as I can tell, that took place either at an earlier date, or it's just not relevant to the finals as a whole. So yes, there was obviously extreme violence, but at the same time, we can't be making false reports. The Met Police even said, this is really bad, guys, because it really doesn't help us if people lie about stuff And I'm guessing the reason why that was lied about was to make English fans look even worse than they were. For those idiots, they make themselves look bad. They don't need people to make false reports about them, so just let them make themselves look bad, basically. So that's the ugliness of it. Again, not trying to excuse any of it because it is disgusting, but I do just want to address the fact that, as far as I can tell, the stabbings is a false report, the chucking into the Thames is a false report, and it's not just English fans. There's been ugliness throughout this whole tournament. There's been racism throughout this whole tournament from other sections of fan bases. There's been other anti-LGBT messages from other fan bases. There's been booing of national anthems from other fan bases, and there's been violence from other fan bases. It's not just one fan base, it's general football as a whole where there is the issue, and it's dangerous to just scapegoat one at this time. Yeah, stop mowing your lawn. Anyway, it's dangerous to just scapegoat one fan base. So that's the very serious elements covered, I think. Now let's talk about some positives. Let's talk about how, because obviously England lost, and I'm very upset about that. But England got to a final of a major tournament for the first time since 1966. Obviously the first time in my lifetime, the first time in many people's lifetime. And yes, they lost, but just getting into the final is a huge achievement. It's also the first time we got to a Euros final. And this Euros, even though it ended in defeat, has been unbelievable. It's been so much fun. Not only just watching as an England fan, the games in general have been amazing to watch on the whole. Overall, it's been, for me, it's been much more exciting than the previous Euros. Probably even much more exciting than the last World Cup. Maybe the last time I had this much fun at a tournament was maybe Brazil 2014. Even though England did really poorly then, the football was still really exciting and really good. So yeah, for me, it's been the best tournament in at least 7 years, and that's just on the football aspect. In terms of as an England fan, getting to the final is huge. These players have done us so proud. They've done the nation so proud. They've rekindled that, like I said, that pride in the national team, because past years it's been, it's England again, they're going to lose again, blah, blah, blah. They always get criticised, and maybe rightly so. They're labelled as overpaid celebrities at times, and this team is just so, not just on the pitch but off the pitch, they are just so likeable, and they are such a team that I want to get behind, and they are such a team that I can relate to in a way. The golden generation era, they're obviously really good players in terms of individual quality. They were probably almost definitely better than the current crop of players, but I don't think there was anywhere near that same level of connection and likeableness about that side compared to this one. This one is charming. This one is engaged in social justice and equality. When you see Tyra Mings calling out Priti Patel, who in one instance says, booing players taking the knee and standing against racism is gesture politics, and then a minute later says, the amount of racism is awful, and Tyra Mings making the point that you can't have it both ways. So the fact that Tyra Mings is calling them out, brilliant. The fact that Harry Kane is standing up to racists, brilliant. The fact that we've got Marcus Rashford, who is literally feeding children, brilliant. Jordan Henderson with his charity work, Raheem Sterling standing up to racism as well on a regular basis, having to do that all the time, and so many other players as well. I've almost definitely missed some players, but these are players who have morals. These are players who will stand up for what they believe in, to the point where they get so many rivals from the establishment, and they actually, it's almost like they have to challenge the current government in a way, because Marcus Rashford literally feeding children. There was a member of parliament who in a private WhatsApp group said something like, well, maybe if he'd spent less time on politics and more time practicing his penalties, he would have scored. How disgusting is that, by the way? That's something I should have touched on in the whole ugliness topic. I don't want to get too involved in politics. I want to talk about football. But Yeah. These guys not on the pitch, getting to a final, off the pitch, standing up for what's right, even in the face of some scumbags who want to boo players taking the knee. They don't care. They all keep doing it, and I really admire that. I love these boys. I love these guys, and I think a lot of the nation do now. And what I also really like is, we talked about the ugly segments of society earlier. This side is not representative of that at all. There is a clean and clear divide between this brilliant on the pitch, off the pitch side of young men and the disgusting, evil elements of our society, which has not yet been eradicated. But like I said, there is a clear divide between the two, and I love that. I love how much I can relate to this team and how much I genuinely like this team. I haven't felt this way about an England side in forever, ever, and it's not just to do with the on-field performances, where they also have been good. Like I say, it's all the off-the-pitch stuff as well, and I really like that. But it does also help get into a final and a semi-final of the World Cup last year. I'll end this segment because we've been talking for too long. I'll end this at this point by saying, again, not all the England side are going to watch this, but you did us so proud on the pitch, getting to a final, off the pitch, standing up for what's right. There's nothing to be ashamed of in defeat. You got further than any other England side since 1966. Especially in the Euros, further than any England side ever. You did better than the supposed golden generation. You should stand proud of your heads held high. Even those players who missed the penalties, don't worry about it. The game wasn't lost on penalties. There were 120 minutes to win the game. Like, you have to bear sole responsibility for it. You just done us really proud. And thank you for giving me and so many other fans like a really enjoyable last few weeks. It's been an amazing ride. It's been well worth it, even in defeat. It's been the best tournament for an England fan that I've ever had. And even though some people will say England are bottle jobs, some people will say England should have won, and tactically, yeah, maybe they should have won, but I don't want to take away what this side have done in terms of the achievement. And it is an achievement, getting to a final. It's huge. So thank you, basically. And the final point I want to talk about, point number 5, I've no idea how long this video is going to be or when it's even going to come out, is let's look ahead to the future. Because it's the World Cup next year. And realistically, this isn't a genuine diss at any other governing body or nation, but the Euros is the hardest tournament. There's much more quality in Europe, in European football, than there is in South American football, than there is in African football, than there is in Asian football, etc. So England got to a final for the Euros. It's the World Cup next year. Why can't England do just as well at the World Cup next year? There's no reason why they can't. We are going to be in a stronger position. We still have an incredibly young squad. I think the average age might be 26. It's one of the youngest squads in the whole Euros, and it will still be one of the youngest squads at the World Cup next year. No player is going to be in like their dwindling years, in their twilight years. We've got incredibly young players like Saka, who's 19, I think. Foden, who's 21. Mount is still young. Grealish, Kane, Phillips, Rice aren't old. Our defence isn't particularly old. Pickford, it isn't aging either. Well, he's aging, but you know what I mean. So we're going to be in a much stronger position. We're going not only another year, it's actually going to be 18 months because it's been played in the winter. Another 18 months not only of club football to get more experience. Like I said, I think for people like Foden and Saka of 18 months more football, first team club football, they will be an even more instrumental part of this England side. But also having the experience, having the confidence, knowing that we've been there, done that. We've been into a final. We've already experienced the worst thing. We know what it's going to be like if we get to a similar situation. Let's say we get to a quarter-final, semi-final on penalties or whatever. We've already experienced the huge pressure of being in a home ground with like however many tens of thousands of home fans watching you in expectation. I'm hoping they'll be in a situation where in their mind they'll be like, we don't have anything to fear now. And with that experience, with that hopeful confidence, I think next World Cup could be a really exciting, assuming we qualify, obviously got to qualify. I've got a really good feeling about the World Cup, and I will be saying it's coming home and when it gets to the tournament, because I'm going to be saying that every single tournament, because that's what England fans do. I might do a video in the future about how it's not an arrogant song, and if you do think it's arrogant, you need to get over it, you need to actually understand the context of it, blah, blah, blah. I think most people are smart enough, but a lot of people aren't, I've found. So that's the future of England and this very young, likeable England side. It's a very exciting time to be an England fan. We've experienced a semi-final in the World Cup. We've experienced a final in the Euros. Yes, it ended in heartbreak, but it's better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. And I'd much rather have experienced a final than not. The journey has been unbelievable, and I wouldn't give it away for, losing in the semi-final and then the heartbreak being less or whatever, or, going out in the group stage, or not even qualifying for the tournament. I'd much rather, it sounds like an obvious thing to say, but I would much rather have gone into a final and lost it, because you at least get to experience it, than not experience it at all. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Euros. Obviously it ended defeat for the English, but I have faith and I have confidence that this incredibly young, likeable English side will do us even prouder, if that's even possible, in future tournaments. Once again, thank you to the England players for what they've done. Thank you to Southgate. I'm 100% Southgate in, and if anyone says Southgate out, they need to get out. He has been so brilliant, and he's been such a good representative of the nation and the team as a whole. And as I say, I love that we've got this squad. I love how we've got this clean divide between these ugly elements, these ugly racist, violent elements of society, and our wonderful England side. And there's just no comparing the two. This England side don't want anything to do with them, these people. I love that it's so obvious, the divide. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on the tournament as a whole. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share the channel if you haven't already done so. And I'm actually going on holiday for a few days, so I don't know when I'll be making another video. Maybe, or Sundays when I come back. So obviously club season doesn't start until I think the 7th of August, so we've got a few weeks. So we'll just be, I'm sure we'll do the standard, looking at potential transfers, looking at rumours, that sort of thing. I'll do my, Premier League predictions at some point. The standard football videos, but also some less standard videos as well. And exciting things will be happening to the channel. I'd say, I'm just looking at the date. I'd say in around a month, it's going to properly pop off, and I'll explain when we get closer to that point. But until then, guys, have a lovely day. England is proud. It's coming home.